Hi folks, it's Jay. I visited a garden that many would describe as something unattainable. I met the gardener when she opened her garden for a plant sale, and the wealth she possessed left me in awe. Her wealth transcended material possessions, and what struck me the most wasn't her spectacular garden or the impressive collection of plants. It was the depth of knowledge, passion, and the sheer joy she found in cultivating her garden. This is The Gardens by Colleen in Clarence, New York. We are with the gardener Colleen here. Can you say a quick hi?
Hi everyone, welcome.
Yeah, can we join you on walking your garden?
Of course.
So we'll follow you.
All right.
Yeah. This is the beginning of August, so it's already over a month after your plant sale this year. But I see you still have a lot of plants in the little nursery pots. So those are plants you're preparing for next year's sale.
Yes, I start seeds in cuttings probably the day after the sale.
The day after the sale.
The day after.
Yeah. Oh, that's the same thing with the garden walk. The day after the garden walk wraps, they already started to prepare for next year's event.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I believe those are Ligularia.
Yes, they're just getting done. It's called Ligularia the rocket.
Rocket Ligularia.
And they get the tall yellow blooms on it. The first things that come up in this circle are alliums, the
in
taller
the
ones. Yes. And then the last things are going to be the white alliums.
Oh, in the autumn?
Yes, the tuberosums are right between the Ligularia.
So the bulb, they really help you to extend the season, not only in the spring, but also some of the bulb, they are late blooming.
Right.
Yeah.
Alliums are great. The deer don't eat them. They're just perfect. You can find any size, white, purple, lilac.
Yeah. This is the front garden area here.
Right.
And you have this like a partial shaded area with many trees, and you use shrubs and perennials or even ground cover underneath the larger canopies of the tree. So what is this plant?
This is euphorbia.
Oh, it's. I mean, the leaf is really. The texture is really interesting.
Yes, it gets yellow flowers in the spring, but it grows in perfectly dry shade. Yeah. So it's a tough plant for a tough area.
Yeah. So you would describe this area as a dry shade area.
Dry shade most of the day, but it gets the west sun.
Oh, okay.
From the other side.
Yeah.
So.
An oak leaf hydrangea.
Correct.
So they change color throughout the season.
They do. All the rain too that we got, they really got big. They usually don't get this tall.
And this would be the Japanese sage.
Yes. Salvia kamachi grows great in the shade, great ground cover, yellow.
Yeah. So this would be in the mint family.
Yes.
And but it's not overly aggressive.
No, no. This is the Herringswood Gold gooseneck loosestrife.
Oh yeah, look at the color on the foliage. It's really like a golden chartreuse color.
And I think it's less invasive than the other, but I really love the goosenecks. They look gorgeous in a vase.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they would behave just fine in a dry shade area.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all about where you place, how you use a particular plant in a particular environment.
Don't write them off. You know, try them in dry shade.
Exactly.
This is another euphorbia polychroma. The flowers actually look like they're watercolors. That blooms in the spring too. Very gorgeous flower.
So the euphorbia is a pretty large family, right? You have the euphorbia in the shrub form. We also have the diamond frost as the annual, which is also a euphorbia. Those are perennial plants in the euphorbia family.
Yes, yes.
Can we take a look at this? How do you call this area? Like a landing area?
I call it the street bed.
The street bed, yeah.
It's closest to the street, and it's the first first bed closest to all the walkers and joggers and bikers.
I see. Because you have a quite large property, it's on a corner, so it's hard to define where is the entrance of the garden. So I think this particular garden area just served this purpose so well.
Yes.
Let's take a look at the plants in this area. So I recognize the red flower as the Crocosmia, and they are a favorite of the hummingbird. And you also have, so what is the blue flower?
That is Verbena bonariensis.
Okay.
That
so it's a verbena. It's also so it's a receding annual.
Yes.
Receding annual.
We have profusion zinnias in orange and yellow.
So where did you find this particular type of verbena?
Okay, I studied in England at Great Dixter with Fergus Garrett, and the day we were leaving, they said, "What seeds would you like to take home with you?" And that was a time when, you know, there weren't so many restrictions on seeds. So I said, "Oh, I want the verbena."
So you have this color palette of different shades of yellow and orange with the blue. So I assume the clematis is also blue. Yes.
Purple. Yes.
Yeah, so it has this purplish, bluish color, and then with a splash of the red from the Crocosmia and with some of the red from the zinnias.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a very cheerful color palette.
Well, my neighbor also gave me some miniature Crocosmia, and they're orange.
Let's take a look.
They're just starting to open.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
so they're much
they have a much finer texture.
Yes. So they fit well into my color palette.
Yeah.
We have some miniature daylilies. I think it's called penny earned. And then some annual rudbeckia.
So later in the season, once we had frost, you would remove all the annual, but you still have the boxwood.
I do keep the grasses up for winter interest. And then both of these beds up here, I have purple and violet colored hyacinths that come up. Oh, this whole area is all purple and violet in the spring.
Oh, how lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really the bulb is such a great approach to not only extend the season, they also let you better utilize your space. We're approaching the front of Colleen's house. So this is a more formal garden, which has a very symmetrical design, primarily achieved with boxwoods, right?
Yes.
Some of those boxwoods you propagated them yourself, right?
Yes, these
Just
that are more shaped. Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to. Those probably are about 15 years old.
It takes a long time for the boxwood to grow. They are really a slow grower. Those would be another area Colleen keeper stock. Yeah, for the plant sale. Those are hyssop.
Hyssop, yes.
Hyssop. So they have this really vertical shape. The hyssop really is one of the favorite for many of the pollinators. So you see, there are so many
covered with bees.
All different type of bees. So you see those tiny, tiny ones. I believe those are solitary bees.
Yeah, they really attract. And they like hot sun.
In this formal area, I know you have the Dusty Miller. You also have the Rose Campion.
I did. I moved it. This bed was a little too wet for it.
Oh, yeah.
It seemed like, you know, when I clean out the bird bath every week, you know, I splashed the water all over. I moved the Rose Campion and I added something that likes a little bit more moisture, the Carex.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll try it and see.
Yeah. So you have the Morning Glory growing on the little trellis, and then on the perimeter you have a few containers with nasturtium.
It's getting big this year. And the Dusty Miller overwinter here.
I
think they have the protection of the boxwood from the winds. So I wait to cut them back. I cut them back in the spring, and they just fill in nicely.
Yeah.
I mean, I might lose a few, but...
Yeah, yeah. So we are on the boundary of their cold hardness zone.
Yeah.
This is your white
garden.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about this area.
I tried to put in all white plants, white azaleas, white astrantia, there's daisies, irises, the stilbe, the climbing hydrangea in the back, which is more like a four-season. I see that out my dining room window, and once the flowers are done, then the seed heads look gorgeous in the winter. The clematis is haldine, which is very floriferous. It blooms almost all summer long.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. The climbing hydrangea, you have to be patient with it.
Yes.
So it takes at least 4 or 5 years for them to really establish, putting down the roots.
Right.
Yeah, once they get going, they
take off. They take off. So this one is about 22 years old.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty old.
I want to show viewer this stunning begonia and also the lantana. I mean, they have a little bit of a different color in it, but still it just goes well with the white garden area.
And then this hydrangea is, I think it's called Bobo. It's the small one. I got a couple through the botanical gardens a couple years ago at their plant sale. And I love it here.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Doesn't get too big.
This would be like a part sun, part shade area?
Yes. So this is sort of layered here too. White primulas come up in the spring, and then the white astilbe take over, and then Tokiensis, Dryopteris tokiensis, the fern, is very erect and easy to fit in tight spots.
Yeah.
This is a great Filipendula. It's called Red Umbrellas. It has red veins. It's kind of cool.
Filipendula, it's also called the queen of the Paria, is that?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. So we have to do some research on that. Yeah. So what is this plant?
That is Karangashoma. It's just opening its buds. It gets yellow flowers on
later in the season.
Yes.
Yeah, we are visiting Colleen's garden in the beginning of August. The shape of their leaf is just so unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I bet the yellow flower goes well with the forest grass.
For sure. Yeah.
So this is like a more woodland garden area. So I assume those would be the boxwood you propagated.
Yes.
And it looks like to me that you are experimenting different form or shape.
Right, different topiaries.
Yeah. A boxwood, they just have this ability to regenerate So even if they got damaged or
Right.
by whatever reason, if you treat them well, you'll be surprised how well they can regenerate. You have the spruce, and this is an ash, right?
Our last ash,
Yeah.
you can see all the branches on it. I don't think it's going to make it.
Oh, yeah.
We've had several, and we had to have them taken down.
So you have some of the more shade tolerant or even shade loving plant here. You have the fern.
Right.
Those are the Japanese fern.
Painted fern. And then the hellebore is evergreen. So when all these go back to sleep for the winter, I still have evergreen foliage out here, which makes a difference.
Yeah. Those are sweet woodruff.
Yes.
And they are probably the most dry shade tolerant plant. They would flower here, right? They have the white flower.
White flowers.
If you have a particularly difficult area under maybe an evergreen, like a conifer, consider try the sweet woodruff.
Yes.
Yeah, but be aware, they tend to spread if you put them in a more relaxed environment.
Yeah, too much moisture and you'll have a lot.
So we're taking a turn on the other side of this massive border. It's closer to the street, and I think one of the, so this will be the double five viburnum. They have the white flower in early season. Now we have the berries. So the black one will be the ripened fruit. Yeah, so the birds do love the berry from the
love
viburnum.
the berries.
Yeah. So what is this plant with the white elongated flower?
That is Persicaria polymorpha.
Okay.
It's called the giant fleece flower.
Giant fleece flower.
And it puts on all that growth in one season.
So you cut this entire thing to almost ground every year?
To the ground, yes.
I see.
When it's done.
Yeah. Behaves like the butterfly bush.
They do. I cut them down in the fall where the butterfly bush, I don't cut those back because if I cut them back, they probably won't come back.
The butterfly bush, they have hollow stem. If you cut them back in the autumn, the rain, the snow will tend to get into the stem, then they get into the root and causing rotting.
Yes.
So it's always better to cut them back in the spring. You have to use plants in proportion to your space. This is quite a large area, so Colleen incorporated many of the larger shrubs like the oak leaf hydrangea, the butterfly bush, the giant fleece flower, as well as the viburnum. You have 2 or 3 over there, right?
Yes.
And the viburnum, they have this horizontal form. They branch out. So you want to allow them enough space to really reach their potential.
Right. I don't think we needed 3 there. I think 1 would have been enough.
So let's walk this way. You have more than a few oak leaf hydrangea here.
I think there's 3 here.
3,
but
yeah.
We've been getting so much rain that they really have been taken off.
The oak leaf hydrangea in autumn, the color on their leaf is very nice too.
Right, it turns like a reddish color. Hellebores love the dry shade. It's very dry here, and they really take off.
Right.
And long flowering season on those. Is the
euphorbia?
The euphorbia it's blooming here.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like a lime green flower. But again, it's really dry on this corner.
The vinca minor, they tend to spread.
Yes.
Yeah, so put them in the dry shade.
Yeah.
So it will keep them more easily contained.
Yeah.
Oh, look at your cornflower. They're very happy here.
Oh, very happy. And the sedum is matrona. It's got the red in the leaves.
Stem? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's a little step up above autumn joy, I think. It's the leaves are pretty. Goes well with the cone flowers.
They are important nectar source for the pollinator later in season.
Yeah.
Another drought-tolerant or dry-loving perennial is the lambsia, the one with the fluffy leaves. They really would suffer if you put in an area that would regularly get water or irrigation. They do well with less water.
Right.
I made a mistake by watering them with my other plants, and they just turn mushy and disappear.
Well, I could not find anything to live here, and then I put in a couple of the lambsias, and it really made a nice big patch.
Another very nice blue butterfly bush, and let me give a sniff. Oh, it's very fragrant. It has this fruity floral.
Yes, I don't mind pruning this.
Yeah.
Because I constantly take a sniff.
Yeah.
It's a good one to prune.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Some peonies come up in the spring.
Oh, yeah.
These are white and those are pink.
So your peony looks very healthy, so you don't get any of the powdery mildew at all. Is that because of the location or the variety?
Yeah, I think so. No, I never had a problem with mildew.
Yeah.
They get really a lot of sun. Oh, this, I wish this was blooming. This is a solidago called Fireworks.
What kind of a flower?
It's the goldenrod.
Oh,
so
yeah.
all these are going to be yellow. Oh, it's a perfect variety. I love it.
Yeah. Wow.
And then Henry Eilers. This is a helianthus just opening. It has the very
A slender petal, right? I remember.
It lasts forever in a vase. Yes. And then here is one of my favorites. This is an East Coast native sunflower, Capnock star, helianthus Capnock star.
Beautiful.
And then some of the, oh, there's bees all over.
Yeah.
And this is actually biennial. It gets quite large. It's called Campanula americana. Very easy to grow. It loves sun, shade. You can put it anywhere.
Yeah. I'm surprised to see you use the hyssop in this kind of a shaded area.
Well, it gets sun from the east.
Well, this would be a meadow rue, right?
Yes, I guess the seeds are ready. I need to come and take them off.
One of the smaller variety, right? Because I usually see meadow rue, they'll be taller than I am, 7-8 feet. Yeah. Well, they look very delicate, but they're surprisingly robust.
Yeah. So about now, I usually cut back all the
ferns.
The what are those? The lady ferns.
Lady ferns.
And then when we get a good rain, they all sprout back up.
Right.
You know, so they don't look so lanky. And this is a good one. This is the autumn fern.
Oh, you start to change color.
The foliage comes out orange. Then it changes to
so
green.
it come out orange, then mature into the green.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Isn't
very
that crazy?
Yeah, very interesting. So let's continue the garden visit at Colleen's garden in Clarence, New York. You may know Colleen from her annual plant sale, which happens every year in the end of June. So we just seen the front garden area. Now we are moving along to the backyard. This will be a more woodland, more shade garden area, right?
This is the west side of the
west
house.
Side, yeah. So you have this gorgeous canopy of different shade tree, primarily maple, right?
Right.
And
we do have one oak back there.
Okay.
So in Clarence, what they call between the houses is conservation area. So you cannot plant anything there.
Oh, I see.
So whatever grows there grows.
So you use wood chip on the path. So it gives you a very soft touch. Well, this would be a different variety of the oak leaf hydrangea.
This is Snow Queen.
It has the double-leaved blossom. It's quite a large flower head.
We got some clematis. This is a cutie. I don't know its name, but
yeah. You have how many variety of plants in your garden?
Oh gosh,
you lost count.
Over 50 varieties of clematis. I love them.
So over 50 varieties of clematis alone. What about the overall variety?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. This is a hydrangea paniculata, quickfire.
Yes.
Look at the petal. The color is just stunning.
Then I started another climbing hydrangea on this wall, trying to get it to travel along and then have it bloom.
Oh yeah.
It look pretty. And more Karangashoma, yellow flowers. This is the original plants, and I've been taking. And this is one of my favorite ferns, the maidenhair. I think it does well in dry soil, although, you know, you read about it and everyone says moist, moist, but I think it gets larger in more drier soil.
I see. So you have some of the white impatiens.
Yes.
White impatiens with some of the hardy geranium.
Yes, they
the bunny
deer,
has been
the deer came through,
the deer.
so they dead-headed them all for me. But hopefully we'll get some more.
They're beautiful even without the flower.
Yes, because the leaves are stunning. You know, they have that red back.
The vein in the back. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, if you can put them on a hill or a slope, you can see them better.
Sit underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is hardy begonia.
Begonia grandis.
Begonia grandis.
She is grand.
Let's take a walk this way. And I like how you used ornamental grass along the walkway. It just softens the edge of the passageway.
Another carex. I really like the carex. Does great in dry shade. Adds a little bit of texture.
Yes.
And
definitely.
It's really soft.
Yeah.
Take a look down there. Those are the plants for next.
Oh yeah, what are those? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we've got hellebores and grasses and pedicites and hypericum and ginger.
Oh, and ferns, right? You have a lot of ferns.
Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, what is this?
That's the baneberry.
1 second.
This is the white baneberry.
Look at the berry.
It looks like, they call it China doll eyes, because that little black speck in there. There's also red berries on the other variety.
Exactly. It's beautiful.
And then I started some oak leaf hydrangeas, so I try to put a cage around them to remind me that I need to take care of them. And then this is one of my favorite ferns, the ostrich fern. When you get too many, you can actually put them in a pot and overwinter the pot outside, and then just pull out the pot and you'll have ferns.
You have quite a collection of ferns. The animal usually would leave the ferns alone, right? They don't really damage the fern.
No damage to the ferns. Correct.
That's good. Yeah.
Here's the sertomium, which is the holly fern. Does great in our area. Some Dryopteris. And they get quite big, you know, have to fill the area nicely. You don't have to...
You have to divide them.
Right. Let me show you the woodland peony. It hasn't opened. This was the flower, and now the seed pods are going to open, but when they open, they're like purple and reds, kind of the same coloring as on the viburnum seeds.
Oh, okay. Wow.
They're gorgeous.
Just the seed head by itself, it's quite a unique...
It looks like a jester hat, I know.
Yes.
So pretty. And then I don't know if I showed you the Pinellia, but it has like a, well, this one's done, the little tongues on it. I call them tongues. These are the flower heads.
Oh, yeah.
They're so pretty, and the leaves are trifoliate, so they're so pretty. They're so glossy.
Let's take a look at the garden area close to your back patio. Let's go this way.
Okay.
You can see along the path there are countless number of little seedlings in the small nursery containers. Colleen also donates many of the plants to the grassroots gardens.
Yes, at the end of the sale, I usually send a truckload, and the people really appreciate it.
Those plants go to the community gardens, in the city.
Yeah. The big fern is Dryopteris goldiana,
Uh-huh.
and that's more splaying, reaches out kind of sideways.
This would be another area for the hardy begonia.
Yeah, they like it anywhere, really.
Yeah.
Sun, shade.
It's not a very fussy plant.
No.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, no.
Yeah. And I like how you use furniture or garden items in the garden to bring extra color. For the woodland area, it's hard to introduce or incorporate very bright color from the plants.
Right.
Yeah, so this is
So
such a good strategy.
Use benches or chairs, pillows.
Yeah. Well, look at the aster bees. Yeah, the light just shed on the flower head. I mean, the dappled light. Just so beautiful. And they're quite late for aster bee to bloom, right?
Well, there's, you can have a sequence of astilbe that blooms the whole summer.
Oh, okay.
So these are a little bit later.
Those are one of the late blooming variety.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, you can get a early one and middle blooming one for summer, and then
It's really
later.
beautiful.
And the seed heads are gorgeous on those. When they dry, you can use them, in outdoor baskets or whatever to keep the season going a little bit.
Yes. I find the garden looks really just stunning under the dappled light.
Yeah.
Can we take a look at your compost area?
Oh, sure. Let me show you these. A friend sent me these. I don't know if anyone is growing them, but they're called rhodea, R-H-O-D-E-A, and they grow them a lot in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
My friend Kay sent me those. But they get a little stalk on them with red berries.
Oh, berries.
Yeah, so it's making it through the winter.
Yeah.
It's like the second or third year, and you can see all the berries waiting to color on the baneberry actia.
So you have 4 compost bins. So you rotate them, or?
Sort of. The last bin I use mostly for leaf mold, so only the cut up leaves go in there. So in the fall, I take the lawnmower and we get a lot of leaves. So I try to get 10 bags cut up and chopped that I can use when I throw in, the green plants. But that bin is all leaves. And then what I do is some of the chopped leaves I put on the beds. So every year I put.
So when you do cleanup, you would shred the leaves?
Shred the leaves with the, I have a shredder, but I also use the lawnmower.
Lawnmower is
It's very quick.
It's very effective.
Yeah.
It's almost like a vacuum.
Yes, it's very, very easy with that.
So what we are looking right now is a golden hop. So hop is the plant that produces the flower head you use to make beer.
Beer, yes.
And they're also ornamental. So the flower head has an aroma later in the season.
Yes, it'll start blooming later.
Because of all the, like the brewery, they would need the hop. So it was one of the main crop in New York State. Yeah.
I find a lot of men buy my hops vines.
With the idea of making their own
I don't know.
brew, which is quite a involving process. So now let's walk towards.
Oh, do you want to see Spotty Dotty?
Oh yes, we cannot
show
miss
Spotty.
this. Yeah.
It's the number one requested plant. Unfortunately, I don't know how to propagate it yet. I just got the seeds off
So
of it.
spotted dotty is a variety of the May apple.
Right, Podophyllum.
Podophylla.
And gorgeous leaf.
Yes, it's really striking. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, they also produce the fruit, right?
Right, it gets like a pendulous burgundy flower on it.
So again, we are visiting Colleen's garden in Clarence, New York. You may know Colleen from her annual plant sale, which happens at the end of June in her garden. So let's take a look at the plants surrounds the patio area.
For next year's sale.
Yes, yeah. So this really is a patio for your plants. Yeah.
I do have a table.
Okay.
We have lunch on, but
Yeah. Well, you have such amazing variety here.
yeah, I do a little bit of plant rescues.
Oh, okay. What are those?
Hydrangeas
Oh, yeah.
were dug out and left in this hot sun, so I'm hoping that they'll re-sprout. The macrophyllus.
Yes. Yeah. The hydrangea, they're actually quite a robust plant. It's hard to kill them. At the same time, it's hard to get them blooming very well.
Yes.
Is that moss?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I'm hoping to create a little moss area.
Oh, okay. Yeah, moss is very beautiful. They just give your garden a sense of maturity.
And then I keep all the hostas on the patio so the deer don't get them.
Oh, that's a good strategy. Yeah, the deer will certainly will enjoy the hosta, especially the young, tender one.
Yes.
What is that blooming in between the hosta? That's not a hosta flower.
No, that's impatiens.
Oh,
you can just add them
impatiens.
to the pots.
Wow, it's just it's such an interesting combination.
These are from seed, the pavlova tree. I don't know if they're going to be hardy, but we'll see.
Okay.
Sometimes back on the patio they will survive.
Well, so you can see Colleen has a real passion for propagating and growing things. Yeah, and it just brings you joy.
It does. I love to propagate anything.
Colleen started her garden in 1998 when the house was built. Throughout the years, she propagates plants from her garden through division, cuttings, seeds, or spores. Located in northeast US, in USDA code hardiness zone 6A, Colleen does not have a greenhouse, so everything she propagated or started was grown outdoors, which makes it very cold hardy. I remember you had a lot of the primrose along the pathway.
East side, yes, they grow great. The Primula japonica, and it's called the candelabra primrose because there's different layers that open.
Yeah. The primrose, they provide such an important early season spring interest, and they bloom for a very long time.
Yeah.
And they self-seed, right?
Right, they self-seed.
In this area, Colleen used a hang basket in a very, very striking way. You have a few that surrounds this kind of like a landing fountain area, and you stick to a very simple color palette, the yellow and blue, which just has this very high contrast, but still very, very, very calming.
I don't think people use enough yellow.
What are those in the background with
that is another persicaria, pink elephant.
Pink elephant.
Yeah, likes moisture. Does well right there.
The visual impact is just so stunning.
Yeah, they're a great cut flower too.
Oh yeah.
I love to do vases for the house. And
those look like the primroses.
Those are I cut back all the leaves, and now they're restarting up again.
Oh, okay.
So that's called Winter Dreams. It's a white one. It's beautiful. One of my favorite. Here's another interesting persicaria.
Look at the pattern on the leaf. It's stunning. You get flower too, right?
Yes.
Triangle leaf. It's quite
Triangular
unique.
leaf, yes.
Quite unique. I just love the soothing sound from the flowing water here.
And that's water lettuce in there. Likes very still waters. The roots sort of filter the water, so it stays really clean.
It's beautiful. kind of at one corner of your property, close to your neighbor, but still you have like a massive woodland garden area. You see, we have the pink STLB and the ferns.
In ginger, I say European ginger, when it reseeds, just leave it there because I did not plant this.
Oh.
And once it finds a dry spot, it will just multiply and multiply.
Yeah, they provide this very glossy foliage, which is quite different.
And here's painter's palette. That's another persicaria that does great in dry shade with the pulmonaria.
Oh, yes. Pulmonaria has this bluish, pinkish flower very early in season.
Yes. It's a good time now to cut it back and let it re-sprout. If it looks raggedy, it will come back.
Okay, come back within this season?
Yes, within the season. Lots of epimediums here because it's dry, and those are gorgeous flowers in the spring. I've got some orange and yellows and purples. See, Japanese painted will do fine in dry shade. It's really a good plant.
But you do have irrigation system for this area?
Not this area.
Not this area, okay.
I've got a sunny bed out here. I think it's my sunniest bed because this will be the south. That's a Heliopsis.
Oh, Heliopsis.
I think it's called Bleeding Hearts.
Oh, wow.
Gorgeous, gorgeous plant.
The color is just unbelievable. Yeah. So you have the hollyhock here. It's really surprised me to see a hollyhock. I know you have deer and of course bunnies.
Yes, bunnies.
Yeah.
Here's a variegated
sedum. Oh, it's beautiful.
I tried the Echium. I saw it when I was traveling. Oh, this is the only one that will be hardy for our zone. Oh, so I'm kind of letting it reseed. So. And another persicaria, polymorpha. Some cone flowers do well out here.
So this is a ginkgo. Yes. You started from seed, right?
Yeah.
You collect the seed in a park in Rochester.
Rochester, yeah. And they have since cut down all the trees, so I can't get that. Starting oaks now. I read Talamy's book on oaks, and I'm going to learn to propagate oak trees. And I have some pineapple lilies here, which I've just discovered, eucomis, which I was surprised to see there. And that I got at a plant swap. It's called red oryx.
It's very, very unique.
I want to save the seeds from that.
Look at this container. Use the elephant ear with the sweet potato vine and the dahlia and also some lantana.
Yes.
It's just stunning. You have different shades of green, chartreuse, which transitions into a yellow and orange. Are those also the sweet potato vine? Yes. But you put them so that
it was crawling down to the ground, so I started wrapping it on the trellis.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You're working in the garden all the time.
That sign stays out all summer.
Every time I step into Colleen's garden, I lose track of time, wandering and lingering for hours. In my eyes, it's more than just a garden. It becomes a vessel of her deep passion for plants and gardening, a passion she generously shares with fellow garden lovers. I heard people describe Colleen's garden as an unattainable miracle. I hadn't the heart to say it's not a miracle, but truly it was love, determination, and very hard work. Well, thank you, Colleen, for sharing your garden with us.
Thank you, Jay. This was wonderful.
It's my pleasure.